Lesson 14 is really a review from 5th grade, so we're just going to skip on it a little bit because all of 14 is covered in 15, so it's not necessary to do it twice. Okay, ordered pairs. Does that sound familiar? What do you think of when you hear ordered pairs? Nice vocabulary words. Coordinate plane. Give me like regular words, not math words. Yeah, graphing stuff. We're going to graph stuff. Put the little dots on the squares and graph stuff. So we have the ordered pair. So think of it as 2, 3. So you would go over 2, up 3, and plot your point, right? You did that in 5th grade?
Yeah.
What is this first number called in your ordered pair? Think of it as a pair of numbers. They're written in order. So what is that first number, the 2, called? You know, you're right. But the new curriculum gave it a new name. But I'm going to give you both names. That's called the x coordinate. But the new curriculum also calls it the first coordinate. Because you do that one first. Yeah.
So genius.
What do you think of that one, Miss Bernstein? The first coordinate. I'm like, wait, what?
I think the first.
Okay. No, this is challenging. You've never seen it before. The second number.
Oh my gosh.
What do you think that one's called? You sure you want to take this chance? All right, remember, it's okay if we get... No, it's okay if we get these wrong. What, have you done this before? Absolutely. The second number, boys and girls, but we're more familiar with calling it the y coordinate. Okay? You're writing this down quietly, please. So ordered pairs is like a set of directions. They indicate where to go in one direction, and then they indicate where to go in the second direction. Okay, so the ordered pair are the set of numbers that tell us where to go on that coordinate plane. This is one of the reasons I love math. It's so sequential and organized. It's in alphabetical order. You have your x coordinate and then your y coordinate. So if you just want to write that in the margin next to where you had your notes, x, comma, y. And those are your ordered pairs. Don't forget to write down y coordinate for that too. Okay? So our first coordinate is our x coordinate. Our second coordinate is our y coordinate. Any questions? We got this so far? Now we talked about something called a coordinate plane. I'm going to ask you all to turn to lesson 15 now and look at page 54. Page 54. Let's take a minute and talk about the coordinate plane. What do I need this ordered pair for? So our coordinate plane is actually made up of 2 number lines. So you have a dot in the middle of your page. Let's draw our first number line, and that dot is 0. So then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then what do we have to the left of 0 on our number line? -1, -2, -3, -4. Okay? That horizontal number line is called our x-axis. So draw that through your big dot. And we can put arrows here because we know that our number lines continue forever. So that's our first coordinate. To find our first coordinate, we slide across the x-axis. Our second coordinate tells us where to go on our y-axis. And I like to think the y is like the tail dropping down. So that's how I remember that's the y-axis. And the x sits flat on the line. So how do we label a vertical number line? 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Then -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, and so on. Now we know from our other number lines that we can really label these using any intervals. We can go by 5s, we can go by 2s, but for today we're just going to count by 1s. Okay? So that's our coordinate plane. And we use the coordinate plane to locate class using our ordered pairs. Okay? Okay, all points on the coordinate plane are described in reference to the origin. Underline the word origin. If you have your highlighters out, you could highlight the word origin. Does anybody know what the ordered pair or the coordinates for the origin is? If that's where we start, where the two number lines intersect? Fabulous. So its coordinates are 0, 0. That's the origin. So you're writing this on the bottom of your notes on page 54, right below the word origin. The coordinates for the origin are 0, 0. Okay? So let's summarize a little bit what we've done. To describe locations of points on the coordinate plane, what do we use? Like, what do we use for the address? What do we call that to locate? If I wanted to know where to go, what tells me to go over and up or over and down? What do we call that? The coordinates. Well, give me another name for coordinates. You're right. I want another vocabulary. Ordered pair. Spell that right? That looks so wrong. Okay. Remember, order is very important. You have to walk across the floor before you can go up or down the elevator. You have to run before you can jump, or in my case, trip. Okay? So order is very important. So on the coordinate plane, we use the form x, comma, y. We're always going to go along the x-axis first before we go up or down the y-axis. So walk across the room before you can go up or down in the elevator. The first coordinate represents the point's location from 0 on the x-axis. And the second coordinate represents the point's location from 0 on the y-axis. Alright, so alphabetical order. Along the x and up and down the y. Any questions on that so far? Now let's take a look. When we took our two number lines and intersected them, that divided our plane into how many sections? How many?
4.
4. Yeah, we have 4 sections. We have 1, 2, 3. We have 4 sections now. Each section has its own way to be labeled or identified. Does anybody know what each section is called? I know that a bicycle has 2 wheels. A tricycle has 3 wheels. What are those things with 4 wheels called? A quad. So quad means 4. So we took our plane or our graph and our number lines divided it into 4 sections, so they're called quadrants. Quadrants. Quadrants are labeled using Roman numerals. Now in 5th grade, you only looked at quadrant 1. And this is where we start, quadrant 1. Then we go around counterclockwise to label the quadrant. So here's quadrant 1, here is quadrant 2, here is quadrant 3, and here is quadrant 4. Miss Bendy told me first period, and I had never heard of this, and if you have other ways to remember it, you know. This looks like the letter C for coordinate plane. So you're going to go around that way as if you're making the letter C. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So on the picture that you drew on page 54, go back to your picture on page 54, and let's label the quadrants. So here we have quadrant 1, here we have quadrant 2, here we have quadrant 3, and here we have quadrant 4. Roman numerals, counterclockwise, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Any questions so far? So now let's take a look at the exercise on page 56. Number 4 on page 56. Number 4 on page 56. So before we do anything with those ordered pairs, I see a list of ordered pairs, let's set up, Michael, hold on please. Let's set up our coordinate plane so it's ready to go. So there I see my x-axis, so label it x-axis. I see the y-axis, so label that y-axis. And just to help me as a reminder, not on the coordinate plane, but around the coordinate plane, let's label our quadrants. 1, 2, 3, 4. So outside the coordinate plane, label your quadrants. Now I gotta tell you, the graphs they give you are really kind of obnoxious.
They're small.
So on your homework tonight, and in the future, if you want to Google coordinate planes, you could print your own graph paper. I will email home or post on the blog this graph paper that I made. It's just bigger and easier to use because you're going to go a little cross-eyed. So then you want to number your lines on your axes. Like I said, we could count by 2s, 5s, 10s, 20s, halves. But if we look at the numbers we're plotting, those are all single whole numbers from 1 to 8.
There's 12.
So let's just go by, let's count by 1. So each line is 1. So 1, 2, 3. You're numbering the lines, not the spaces. So you're actually going to have the line going through your number. So go ahead and label your x-axis. And then over here is -1, -2. I know it's difficult. They give you no room. So just as small as you can, label. You don't have to draw the tick marks. They're already there for you. Just write your numbers. And then the same on your y-axis. 1, 2, 3, -1, -2, -3. And go to 10 on each side. Okay, so number 1 to 10, keep going. You're numbering the lines, not the spaces. Through the line. You're writing it right on through the line. Your line, look at this on the board, should be going through your number. Your line should be going through your numbers. Just like when we were labeling our number lines, just like when we did our double number line diagrams. We're counting the lines, not the spaces. That's very important. Here, take a look at this one that's already numbered. See how the lines are numbered? See how the lines are going through the numbers? Okay, let's start plotting these points. Let's find these coordinates. So the first one is 7, 2. So you were going to go over 7 and then up 2. Why am I going up 2?
Because it's positive.
Good, because it's a positive 2. You can label it with an A because it's A, or you can label it with the ordered pair. You can see both. I've seen it with the letter and with the ordered pair. But it also wants to know what quadrant it's in. So what quadrant is that?
1.
So we're going to come back over here and write quadrant 1. So try B through E on your own. And Ms. Bernstein and I are here. We'll come around and check on you. So B is in what quadrant?
B is in number 2.
B was in the 4th quadrant. See, gentlemen, please stop calling out. Yes, they have to be written in Roman numerals. So C is in what quadrant?
C is in 4.
D is in what quadrant? E is in what quadrant? So since B and C are in the same quadrant, what do you notice the x coordinates have in common? What do you notice the y coordinates have in common? Look at the x's. Look at the y's. They're both in the same quadrant. Right, so when we're in quadrant 4, we're always going to have a positive x and a negative y. That's the rule for quadrant 4. So what I want you to do is take a look at page 57. Now the quadrants are listed on top. This isn't what the question is asking you, but this is what we're going to write. So next to quadrant 1, we know that an ordered pair lands in quadrant 1 if both values are positive. So you could just write positive x, positive y next to quadrant 1. Okay, you don't have to write the whole sentence, just write positive x, positive y next to quadrant 1. Quadrant 2 will have a negative x and a positive y. Whoops. My highlighter is acting all weird today. So quadrant 3. This is getting ridiculous. Quadrant 3, both coordinates would be negative. Both coordinates would be negative. And for quadrant 4, the x is positive and the y is negative. Now sometimes it doesn't land in a quadrant. Sometimes it can be sitting right on the x-axis or sitting right on the y-axis. So if it's sitting on the x-axis, that means the y-coordinate was 0. We didn't go up, we didn't go down. So if it's sitting on the x-coordinate, if it's sitting on the x-axis, your y-coordinate will be 0. And if it's sitting on the y-axis, that means your x-coordinate was 0 because you didn't go over anywhere. So these two red sentences, please copy into your notes. If you want to copy it below number 6, because that's where you have room, that's fine. So if a point lies on the x-axis, the second coordinate, the y-coordinate, will be 0. And if a point lies on the y-axis, the second coordinate will be 0. All right, so boys and girls, to summarize today's lesson, the x and y-axis of the coordinate planes are number lines that intersected 0 on each number line. And we call that the origin Okay, the axis creates 4 quadrants on the coordinate plane. Points on the coordinate plane lay on either an axis or one of the 4 quadrants. Okay? If you turn to your green vocabulary packet in your binder, all of these definitions have its own page for you to highlight, starting with number 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. So you can highlight those vocabulary words 10 through 15 and start studying those as well.